hello. Oops, I have to turn this off real quick. Give me a second, guys. I don't know. The end of this book put me in this mood. Can you guys hear the music? Very pensive. I don't know. So, welcome, guys. We are here to discuss To Kill a Mockingbird. The end of it. What do you guys think? What a powerful book, am I right? I'm blown away. I'm blown away. Can you guys hear me right now? That's Wagon Wheel by Darius Rucker is the name of the song from yesterday. It's one of my favorite country songs. Well, there are a few things I want to talk about before we get to the end of the book, that very last chapter, because we're going to get there, trust me. I want to start with, give me one sec, kind of I planned a lot. Okay, so I'll talk about this real quick. The wedding was awesome. I got to see a lot of my family that I hadn't seen in a very long time, which was really cool. I thought it was super amazing. My cousins got married. My cousin Carlos got married to a wonderful Mary. They're so happy, and they're a lovely couple. It's one of those couples you're like, wow, love is so amazing. They're so happy together, and I'm really happy I got to come to the wedding. Right now, I am in Worcester, Massachusetts. That's where the wedding was. Give me one second, guys. All right, cool. Oh yeah, I don't know if you guys know me, but I am someone that, let's wish them all the blessings. Right now, they're going to be on their way to their honeymoon. It's really so happy. Oh, and congratulations to your Malik Kauai. Congratulations to your cousin too. It's been quite a wonderful thing. Now, I'm in the lobby of a hotel, so if it gets really loud, I'm sorry. I'll do my best to speak appropriately, loud enough anyway. Favorite song from the wedding was Suavemente. I love when they play that song at weddings. Suavemente, besame, te quiero sentir tus labios, besame otra vez. Song's awesome. I'm in Worcester right now, but then I go back to Boston before I fly back to Toronto because I have work tomorrow. So, I don't know, I didn't ask them. Oh, thank you. This is my hat that I wear pretty much every day. So, we're going to talk about To Kill a Mockingbird now. And I first want to talk about the article that some of you guys shared with me on Twitter about the Biloxi County School District in Mississippi that banned the book from 8th grade classes for making people uncomfortable. I have a couple of quotes I want to read to you from people that I really respect. I think you guys might know a couple of them. And I want you guys to just listen real quick. So, the article's really sad. I completely agree with Hey Nibs. I love that name. Article is pretty sad, because that's exactly what the book is supposed to do, and you're right. So I'm going to read a quote to you by one of our authors that we read together, Kurt Vonnegut, and it says, "I hate it that Americans are taught to fear some books and some ideas as though they were diseases." And I agree. There's another quote by Pete Hauptman. It says, "Yes, books are dangerous. They should be dangerous. They contain ideas." Any of you guys ever seen the movie V for Vendetta? There's an amazing quote by the main guy where he says, you can never crush an idea, you can never, I'm sorry I'm paraphrasing, but it's something about how an idea is all you have. And that speaks to something that my grandfather felt. And he told me on his deathbed, unfortunately. He said, "Alberto, I'm going to tell you two things. First, who you are." This is wisdom from my grandfather before he passed away. The last thing he ever said to me. So I hope some of you guys listen. It's who you are and what you do is all you have. Your integrity makes you who you are. And the minute that's gone, you're no one. Wow. I was like, this guy is on his deathbed and he was able to give me that much wisdom. And then he said the second one, which is something that I think about every single day. One of the reasons why I started this book club for us. One of the reasons why I feel it's important to pass on information and to inspire people to want to learn and to read and to look for more answers. And it's And Alberto, learn everything you can. Because what you put in between your ears, no one can take from you. Just like an idea. Just like hope. So I have that example from my grandfather. And then now we're reading these books, and it's amazing. I'll read you guys one more quote. And it's from one of my favorite presidents. And it says, if this nation is to be wise as well as strong, if we are to achieve our destiny, then we need more new ideas from more wise men reading more good books in more public libraries. These libraries should be open to all, except the censor. We must know all the facts and hear all the alternatives and listen to all the criticisms. Let us welcome controversial books and controversial authors, for the Bill of Rights is the guardian of our security as well as our liberty. That was John F. Kennedy, who now has John F. Kennedy's Presidential Library in Boston. And I completely agree with him 100%. So I want to read that. I wanted to start our life in that mindset, and I wanted to start with us thinking in that direction. Ideas that challenge the status quo in a good way should be encouraged and cherished, even if it makes people uncomfortable. I think ideas should be, even things that don't challenge, that, ideas are important. Communication is important. Freedom of thought is important, because only through freedom of thought can we grow and move forward. And that's why I'm going to swing back. I'm in a very important part of the. Okay, so that's why we're going to swing back into one more part of the book that I'm going to read for you guys, because it's going to be a bit, but it's something that struck me as super powerful and super important. Do you think that you need to do an effort when it comes to reading, or should be spontaneous? I don't know if I explained myself. I think sometimes it makes an effort. I think especially in the beginning of books, it takes an effort to start and to get invested. And I think sometimes it just comes easily. Next thing you know, you've read 100 pages, and sometimes it takes hours to get through 5. So now I'm going to find that page that I want to read. Give me a sec. I need to find it. I don't know where it is. You just got instruments? This is the instrument. All right, ready? So, she printed democracy in large letters. Democracy, she said. Does anybody have a definition? Us, somebody said. I raised my hand, remembering an old campaign slogan Atticus had once told me about. Is it loud? Should I move somewhere else? Can you guys hear me? Am I paused? Can you guys hear me? Is this okay? So, there's nowhere else to sit. So, I raised my hand remembering an old campaign slogan Atticus had once told me about. What do you think it means, John Louise? Equal rights for all, privileges, special privileges for none. I quoted. Very good, Jean Louise, very good, Miss Gates smiled. In front of democracy, she printed, we are a, now class say it all together, we are a democracy. We said it, then Miss Gates said, that's the difference between America and Germany. We are a democracy and Germany is a dictatorship. Dictatorship, she said. Over here, we don't believe in persecuting anybody. Persecution comes from people who are prejudiced. Prejudice. She enunciated carefully. There are no better people in the world than the Jews, and why Hitler doesn't think so is a mystery to me. An inquiring soul in the middle of the room said, why don't they like the Jews, you reckon, Miss Gates? I don't know, Henry. They contribute to every society they live in, and most of all, they are deeply religious people. Hitler's trying to do away with religion, so maybe he doesn't like them for that reason. Cecil spoke up. Well, I don't know for certain. They're supposed to change money or something, but that ain't no cause to persecute them. They're white, ain't they? Miss Gates says, When you get to high school, Cecil, you'll learn that the Jews have been persecuted since the beginning of history, even driven out of their own country. It's one of the most terrible stories in history. Time for arithmetic, children. As I never liked arithmetic, I spent the period looking out the window. The only time I saw Atticus scowl was when Elmer Davis would give us the latest on Hitler. Atticus would snap off the radio and say, I asked him once why he was so impatient with Hitler, and Atticus said, because he's a maniac. This would not do, I mused, as the class proceeded with its sums. One maniac, and millions of German folks. Looked to me like they'd shut Hitler in a pen instead of letting him shut them up. There was something else wrong. I would ask my father about it. I did. And he said he could not possibly answer because he didn't know the answer. But it's okay to hate Hitler? It is not. It's not okay to hate anybody, Scout. Atticus, I said, there's something I don't understand. Miss Gates said it was awful. Hitler doing like he does. She got real red in the face about it. I think she should. But yes, nothing, sir. Then later on, Scout goes on to ask Jem the same question, but she really goes in. And then she says, she went on today about how bad it was him treating the Jews like that, Jem. It's not right to persecute anybody, is it? I mean, even have thoughts about anybody, even, is it? Gracious no, Scout. What's eating you? Well, coming out of the courthouse that night, Miss Gates was going down the steps in front of us. You must have not seen her. She was talking to Miss Stephanie Crawford. I heard her say, it's time somebody taught them a lesson. They were getting way above themselves. The next thing they think they can do is marry us. Jem, how can you hate Hitler so bad and then turn around and be ugly to folks right at home? To me, that's one of the most important parts of the book. To me, that's something we should talk about now. Also, the idea that Atticus would turn off the radio when that maniac Hitler would be on the radio, or someone would talk about him. I have to turn it off because he's a maniac. I'm not here to impose any thoughts on you guys, naturally. You're free to think and choose and do whatever you want. But that question, that idea that we should turn off the radio when someone is bothering us and just kind of ignore them when there are millions of us and only one maniac? What do you guys think about that? And that's something I think is important, because the idea that Jean-Louise, as a little girl, was able to recognize was, wait, there are millions of people and only one man, and he's shutting them up? That's not the way it should work. And that's what democracy is. That's what the power we have as Americans is. That's what the power I think we have as people, and why ideas and books are important, why we read books like this, so that these ideas that were prevalent and being written about in 1935, but being published in 1960, and are so important in 2017. That's why. We can't just ignore when something bothers us. We have to act, use our voices to change. That's why I started this book club, so that I can talk to you guys and have you guys read amazing books that I've never read with me. Ignorance is the weapon of the oppressor. They want you to be ignorant. They want you to forget things. They want you to not pay attention. But that's not our job. Our job is to pay attention. Our job is to push them to say, no, that's not what we want as people. We have the power, and don't forget that. That was so important. Now, let's talk about the book. Let's keep going. So what do you guys think was powerful? Actually, I want to introduce you guys to someone who is here. She's a fan of the show, and she's my cousin Sarah. She's awesome. She wants to say hi to everyone. Everyone say hi to my cousin Sarah real quick before we dive in again.
How are you?
How's everyone doing? I know we just jumped on like a huge theme of the book, so everyone's going to be commenting on that for a bit.
Okay, that's cool.
So, but everyone's going to say hi right now. See? Hi.
Wow, that's so cool.
Yeah, isn't this interesting? So, have you ever been on a live with me? Sarah's never been on a live with me before. Have you been on a live where there's like a lot of people and they're all commenting and talking?
Yeah, I've never been on one
Wait,
before.
do you know her?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome. Her best friend is on the live right now, and she's like, oh my gosh, she's my best friend. Let's go say hi to, what's her name?
Monica.
Monica, what's up? How's it going? So Sarah is joining the book club. She will be joining us next time for 1984, but she didn't get to read To Kill a Mockingbird yet. But she will.
not yet.
She will.
Yeah.
And then we're going to talk about it. She's going to call me and be like, yo, this book blew my mind. I'll be like, Sarah, I know, and it's going to get really cool. So if you want to take a seat, we're going to keep talking?
Okay.
Cool, here you go.
Oh, no, okay.
Oh, you can go back to your parents and
It's
join
okay,
me?
it's
Okay,
okay.
cool. So let's go back in. Let's start with... I have notes. I don't know about you guys, but this book blew my mind. Okay, and here we go. So let's start with chapter 20, and then we'll move forward. What do you think? Aaron, I think that's important in the book. Some parts, I wouldn't say dry, they're just beginning the build. Because there's something about these last 10 chapters that I felt whilst I was reading, and that was that there was definitely a build of tension that Harper Lee had built into those last 2 chapters, or 3 chapters, And I think it was very much punctuated, her admitting that she had been building this tension, when at the end of, I think, chapter 28, or 29, when Scout says, this would be our longest journey together. When I read that, I was like, what the hell is about to happen? Because, we'll get there. So, with chapter 20 and 22, why was Mr. Dolphus Raymond an important character? But the Niner Girl, the first half is a slow burn buildup, but it's so important because of the themes that it all ties in at the end. We'll talk about that when we get to talking about the last few chapters. What do I think of Raymond? I thought he was a very interesting character because he was one of the people that didn't follow the rules of his society. Didn't want to. He actively chose against that. He preferred black people to white people in his town. And he let people think he was a crazy drunk because that's how they had to say, well, the only person that would actually feel that way has to be bad or has to have something that's making him think that way. And Mr. Dolphus Raymond was just like, nope, it's only Coca-Cola in this bag. I choose to live this way. And he's almost like a joke with that, because people are like, oh, Raymond, this and this and this, and the kids are afraid of him and this, but you realize that he presents a very interesting contradiction. He prefers blacks, but he never explains why. Just like the white people never say why they prefer whites. They just do. So he's someone that I think is meant to bring that theme out, to be like, now let's just like call out that hypocrisy there and be like, you guys can never explain why. I can never explain why. I just do. It's almost weird. And yeah, Moral Malik, he's breaking the norms. And people that break the norms are meant to make you think. Well, I think there's also something that is very important from Raymond that we can all learn, and it's that you live for yourself. The only person, and then that's something that Atticus says in the beginning of the book when he's talking to Scout about why he does what he does, why he decided to take on the case of Tom Robinson, and he says, because Scout, I couldn't go to church. I couldn't walk around and wear this face if I didn't do what was morally right. And he brings it in again at the end of the book. After the whole thing happens with, Scout and Jem being attacked, he's like, I can't tell them something else at home and act a different way on the street. That's not who I am. I live for myself. I don't live for the opinions of the town. I don't live for the opinions of other people. I live so that every morning I can wake up and look at Atticus Finch in the mirror and say, you are a good man. And that's not the easiest way to live. The easiest way to live would be to let other people tell you what to do and make other people happy, but that's not what we're here for. We're here to live our own lives. And I think that's such a big theme that Raymond kind of hits on without really, I don't know if, I feel like that's one of the reasons why his character was so important. I think he shows as long as you're living your life, not doing anything wrong or harming anyone, you shouldn't care what people think. Absolutely. And yet everyone still respects Atticus. Thank you, Bianca. Why though? Because to have that moral sense of integrity and truth to yourself is one of, I think, the best qualities a person can have. And that's why everyone still respects him. So don't forget that, guys. When you're doing something you love, or you're being the person you want to be, and there are people saying it's not cool, or it's weird, whatever. They're saying that because you're breaking the norms that they're comfortable with. And there's a hint of jealousy saying, how do they have the strength to do what I can't? And that goes back to the quote that Atticus says, where he's like, when someone calls you a bad name, never get upset. It just shows you how poor they are. And to me, nothing's more upsetting than someone that doesn't have confidence in themselves. Exactly. Yes, let's talk about that speech, Lori. Atticus' speech in the courtroom. All men are created equal. What do you guys think about that? Deep. People are going to think what they want. Think no matter how you act. So make yourself happy and be a good person. How you want to be treated. That's so right. Malakoi, you're killing it today. Wait, your sister-in-law called you stupid for being a feminist? That's... Your sister-in-law called you that? Why? Let's just break this really quickly. I'm going to speak... These are my opinions on feminism. Anyone in this world that thinks that people should be treated the same, people should be treated with respect, people should be compensated fairly for what they want, and fairly for what they do, regardless of race, sexual identity, gender. Anytime you believe in equality, all men are created equal, you're a feminist. Sorry if that shocks some people, but it's true. Feminism has this weird negative connotation because of the prefix feminine. They think it means putting women over men, but that's actually misandry. So they have a false understanding of what that means. No, I don't want to force quit anything. So, Hannah, you killed it. Hannah Faitha, is that Faitha? I'm sorry for pronouncing it wrong, but babies are born innocent. It's the whole notion of nature versus nurture. And where do you see that? You see that perfectly exhibited in the courtroom with Scout not understanding, and then you see it at the end of the book. Oh, Jordan, what's up, my man? How are you, bro? You see at the end of the book, Scout grows up a little bit. You see it with Dill, who still has the innocence in him that gets upset that people can treat another person the way that the prosecution was treating Tom Robinson. A man. Not a black person, a man. These themes that we're reading in this book are so important to me. When she meets Boo, that's another thing. Everyone in the neighborhood had treated Boo as this mythical creature, literally Boo, a ghost. And it was only when she had that awakening to me, like, oh wait, he's a human. She says hi to him, tears in her eyes. And that's another important thing, because if she could see a ghost as a human, you can see anyone as a human, am I right? And that's something that Ms. Serig, but then Raymond says that Dill will outgrow his feelings. I don't think that's accurate. I think that's the way adults, you'll outgrow those feelings. You'll never outgrow those feelings. You'll outgrow the way you act on them. You know, this is something I have problems with because I'm a very emotional person. But the older you get, you realize that you can't just yell when you're angry. You have to do the things in the right way. And Atticus is very good at that. Do you think Atticus wanted to get chewing tobacco spit in his face by Mr. Ewell? No. But he knows that this man's not angry at him, he's angry at himself. And he's lost, and he's afraid, and he needs to put it out on someone. Now, was Atticus accurate about the depths of this anger? No. And that's why the end of the book happened. But there's a truth in Atticus realizing that. Just being like, I wish he wouldn't chew tobacco. Love that. He will outgrow crying about his feelings. That's exactly it. But his feelings will still be there. And that's something I've heard from adults that I want you guys to constantly question. You know, I asked someone like a couple of years ago, I was like, why don't people change? Why can't the world be a better place? Because I asked you guys, I asked them, I was like, you guys say the world has always been like this. Why won't it move forward? And they said, well, that's just the world is. I'm like, that's wrong. We can change the world, it just takes a little more work. So don't forget that. Nothing's ever stuck. I'm going to watch the movie tonight. I think Jade is going to come over when I'm back in Toronto, because him and I almost gave away a spoiler. Him and I are working together tomorrow. I don't know what the Meliorn and Simon ship name is, but we have scenes tomorrow together, so he's coming over tonight. We're going to hang out. I'm probably going to watch the movie. But you can hear that from me. So, now we're going to move on to the next couple chapters. Oh, no! No, I wrote everything on Chrome, and now my Chrome is force quitting. I'm sorry, guys, I have to open it back up. Let's keep moving. Alright, there's something that was one of my favorite quotes in the book. It's in chapter 27, and it's when, for the first time, Scout is allowed and actually does sit with the women of Maycomb. That's, to me, the first time you see her adopt that role of the lady that she's supposed to have. And then she does it later on. And then I think that's the first time she starts to see power in that role. The minute she decides to don it herself, which I think is cool. She's not forced to accept it. She decides, well, you know, if Anna Alexandra can be a lady right now, so can I. So I think that's an important part. But in that meeting, Aunt Alexandra was thriving. Miss Maudie must have silenced the whole missionary society at one blow, for Auntie again ruled the roosts. Her refreshments grew even more delicious. I learned more about the poor Marunas' social life from listening to Miss Merriweather. They had so little sense of family that the whole tribe was one big family. A child had as many fathers as there were men in the community, and as many mothers as there were women. What do you guys think about that? I want to pose that question to you and say, how interesting would society be if every man and woman treated everyone as if they were their child, and every child treated everyone as if they were their mother and father? She makes that sound like a bad thing. She makes that seem like a bad thing. But I don't think that's a bad thing. It takes a village, it's right. I'll read it one more time, thank you. It is, Miss Maudie must have silenced the whole missionary society at one blow, for Auntie again ruled the roost. Her refreshments grew even more delicious. I learned more about the poor Maruna's social life from listening to Mrs. Merriweather. They had so little sense of family that the whole tribe was one big family. A child had as many fathers as there were men in the community, and as many mothers as there were women. To me, I was like, imagine if we lived like that. Imagine if every single person here lived as if every person they talked to was their child or their wife. They treated them like true family. Imagine how the world could grow if every child treated every adult they met as their parents. There'd be a lot more understanding. People would walk around in other people's shoes a lot more. And I think that'd be very interesting. So I thought that was a really cool quote that I really wanted to talk about. And then, yes, now we'll talk about that effect on Scout. Because I think that's something that we don't understand as kids, is the reason why our parents do the things they do until you start to get older and you start to realize more about society. And that was the first moment that Scout, I think, realized that. That Scout was like, oh, there's an importance in playing this role. There's a power in it. And there's the mutual respect. Thank you, Amanda Kinderak. I don't know if, I'm sorry if I pronounced your handle wrong, but yeah. All of you guys are reading, I'm reading your posts. I'll read them out loud from now on if you guys want. It would connect each other together and everyone would be able to see the world from another's perspective and understand their actions better. I agree. Mutual respect. Think about, you think, Valsmo, 16, that Scout grew up mentally. She did. And I think a lot of these last few chapters are showing Scout starting to become a more aware, not adult, but person. And that the innocence is still there. And I think that's beautiful, because at the end of the day, we never go back to her being an adult to finish the book. It starts as her an adult, and then she starts describing the events of that time. But we never go back. Because I think Harper Lee wanted you to know that Scout carried that childlike wonder, innocence, belief in people, all the way through her life. And although she had grown up a lot that year, although she had seen some stuff and gone through it, I mean, she was attacked by Mr. Ewell, who had this grudge against her father. She was an adult. She still fell asleep on Atticus's knee, and Atticus still had to put her to bed like his daughter that she was. See, I haven't read Go Set a Watchman yet, and I'm excited. But in this book, we're only going to discuss this book right now, and you never see her as an adult again. What did you think about what happened to Jem at the end? What do you think? You know, I don't know. That's of course, as a former athlete, I know that injuries like that freak you out when you're young. Because when you worry about, especially if you feel as though you can do something more than just play in high school or something, it scares you. And I think there's something cool about the doctor being like, boys that age bounce. I think everyone that age bounces back. So I'm not too worried about Scout. And I'm wondering if it's the same arm that he broke in the beginning. Oh, that was the elbow. Oh, wow. I'm sorry, I just made a connection. That was when he broke his elbow. I'm going to reread the first page. Someone, Niner Girl, I think, asked me to do it earlier. I'll reread it with you guys. When he was nearly 13, my brother Jem got his arm badly broken at the elbow. When it healed, and Jem's fears of never being able to play football were assuaged, he was seldom self-conscious about his injury. His left arm was somewhat shorter than his right. When he stood or walked, the back of his hand was at right angles to his body, and his thumb parallel to his thigh. He couldn't have cared less, so long as he could pass and punt. When enough years had gone by to enable us to look back on them, we sometimes discussed the events leading up to this accident. I maintain that the Ewell started it all, but Jem, who was 4 years my senior, said it started long before that. He said it began the summer Dill came to us, when Dill first gave us the idea of making Boo Radley come out. I said if he wanted to take a broad view of the thing, it really began with Andrew Jackson. And then she goes farther back. But making Boo Radley come out, because that was the minute that they started their connection with Boo Radley, which eventually saved her. How cool is that? And yes, that's why reading is the key. Maybe if this book club keeps going, in like 5 years, we'll reread all of these books again together. So we can be like, whoa, we read these books 5 years ago, let's read them now. And I think that'd be super cool. Hopefully we can keep this book club going. Hopefully it stays interesting for people. But yeah. You know what about Gaia? What if we do discuss the difference between the book and the movie? I'm going to watch the movie first, and then we'll talk about it. Maybe I'll tweet about it and be like, let's do a movie discussion. But I think that's something that could be interesting. So let's keep moving forward, yes? And I would love to do an audiobook. Please tell everyone, post it places. I would love to do audiobooks. It's one of my dreams. Okay, so it was the end of chapter 27. After that, he figured out that Calpurnia couldn't take him and all that, Jem said he would take me. Thus began our longest journey together. And then I think the next 3 chapters are all built until that moment. It's amazing. Let's talk about the death of Tom Robinson real quick. What do you guys think about that? What are we at by time-wise? Because I want to talk about the next book. Oh, we have wow, that was moving fast. We only have like 20 minutes. No, Anna Schaub, we're not going to compare the movie and the book. We're going to talk about the differences and the similarities. We're going to talk about things they talked about and be like, oh, in the book they talked about it this way. I wish they'd done it in the movie. Or be like, I really loved in the movie when they did this. You can't compare books and movies. It's a different medium. It's a different form of storytelling. They have their place. Just like TV has its place. Just like theater has its place. Just like magazines have their place. Storytelling is a giant circle. And every piece of the puzzle has its place. And it all centers around the original form of storytelling, which is the oratory. The spoken story. The original actors. I know, I didn't expect that either, Aaron Ray. That to me, that was like, I thought something bad was going to happen to him later. I didn't know that, because in my mind, I knew something crazy was going to happen at the end of the book, so I was like, if that wasn't the crazy thing, what was? But I think there's a truth in the way he died, maybe upset too, but there's a truth in his lack of faith, which Atticus never lost. Although there's that moment when he said, Alexandra said that he did lose his hope. I don't think he ever did, because he was still fighting for him. And he said, I can't tell you for sure, but you should. But what killed Tom Robinson? Yeah, it was a gun and a bullet, but it was the loss of hope. I think that's one of the most important things. He lost hope, and that was one of the sad things. Though I always prefer books, I feel that movies give a certain insight to the book that we don't get when reading. I agree 100%. Sometimes I really bring them up. He had accepted his fate instead of trusting Atticus a little bit more. But Miss Maudie did make a very good point that I thought was cool, when she was like, no, I know you think nothing happened, but Atticus is the only man that could keep a jury out on a case like this for that long. Kacha Diaz 22, do I think that Boo kills evil? Boo did kill evil. In the discussion with Mr. Tate and the sheriff and Atticus, when he's going through his whole moral dilemma of saying, I can't have my kids know that I tried to cover something up because then I become just like everyone else. Mr. Tate's like, no. Look at this switchblade. This is the knife that I took off Bob Ewell at the thing because I knew he was drunk and he was going to do something stupid. He never had a knife when he went to attack them. I think he was going to do something much worse. It was Boo. It was a kitchen knife. Why would Bob Ewell have a kitchen knife when Boo came from the house? Boo killed Bob Ewell because he was attacking those kids. And to put the type of celebrity on Boo that would have done, for them to say, you killed Bob Ewell, thank you for taking care of those kids, it would have been like killing a mockingbird, taking someone out of what they normally know. And that's what he was saying, Mr. Tate. And he's like, no, he fell on his knife. And that's why Atticus was like, Scout, is that good enough for you? Because I don't want you to I don't want to lose you. I don't want you to think that I'm not the man that I've always been. And she goes, no, Dad, doing that to Boo would be killing a mockingbird. And I think that's an understanding that I think we'll talk about later on when we get into different books, but no, the mockingbird is innocence. The mockingbird, it isn't a person, it's a thing. It's a sin to destroy that innocence. Anyone can be a mockingbird. I think everyone in the book is, in some way. I think even Ewell was a mockingbird in his own way. That's a question I haven't asked myself. I'm going to try to figure it out. Yes, Nicole. He didn't win the case, but he won because, like Maudie said, they took a baby step. They were able to have that discussion for more than 5 minutes. He said, well, he's a colored man, so he should go to jail. He should be dead. No, they were like, but we can't just convict this guy for this reason. There was a 2-hour discussion with something that was, especially at that time, if you guys have done a little bit of research about that period of time and what was happening in the country and what was happening with, there was still a huge racial divide. There still is, as we can see, and that's why this book is still very important. But, exactly. I would go farther to say everyone in the book, not just Scout's family. Tom's wife was a mockingbird. Her kids were mockingbirds. Mr. Ewell kept killing mockingbirds. And at the end, he killed one himself. That's interesting. The translation in Portuguese for the book is, the sun is to everyone. Maybe like sun is for everyone? Okay, are we gonna... Yeah, we'll do that because then we'll have 10 minutes to talk about the next thing. What do I think about Scout seeing the town on Boo's porch? I absolutely love that. I thought that was super cool. Because she described... Want me to read it to you guys? That last page, it's about a page where she says that. Hold on. Okay, I'm going to read this last page. Ready? I turned to go home. I had never seen our neighborhood from this angle. There was Miss Maudie's, Miss Stephanie's, there was our house. I could see the porch swing. Miss Rachel's house was beyond us, plainly visible. I could even see Mrs. Dubose. I looked behind me. To the left of the brown door was a long shutter window. I walked to it, stood in front of it, and turned around. In daylight, I thought, you could see the post office corner. Daylight. In my mind, the night faded. It was daytime when the neighborhood was busy. Miss Stephanie Crawford crossed the street to tell the latest to Miss Rachel. Miss Maudie bent over her azaleas. It was summertime, and 2 children scampered down the sidewalk towards a man approaching in the distance. The man waved, and the children raced each other to him. It was still summertime, and the children came closer. A boy trudged down the sidewalk, dragging a fishing pole behind him. A man stood with his hands on his hips. Summertime, and his children played in the front yard with their friend, enacting a strange little drama of their own invention. It was fall, and his children fought on the sidewalk in front of Mrs. Dubose. The boy helped the sister to her feet, and they made their way home. Fall, and his children trotted to and fro around the corner, the day's woes and triumphs on their faces. They stopped at an oak tree, delighted, puzzled, apprehensive. Winter, and his children shivered at the front gate, silhouetted against the blazing house. Winter, and a man walked into the street, dropped his glasses, and shot a dog. Summer, and he watched his children's heart break. Autumn, again, and Boo's children needed him. Atticus was right. One time he said, you never really know a man until you stand in his shoes and walk around in them. Just standing on the Radley porch was enough. I think that last line is what's important. The page, they break down the whole book, but from this window perspective of Boo. And he felt a closeness to that family. It was his neighborhood. They were his mockingbirds that he was taking care of. And all she had to do was stand on the porch. She didn't even have to get in his skin and walk around in it. All she had to do was stand on the porch. What do you guys think about that? Sometimes it takes just that 2 extra steps. Right? So I think that's why a lot of people should read this book. For that one line. Just standing on the Radley porch was enough. You don't have to do too much. You just have to take a step back and stand on the porch. Exactly. The changing of the seasons is able to represent the growth of Scout, and I think the children and the neighborhood. Don't forget, like, the changing of seasons is the world changing. So it's not just the children that he was able to watch. It was Miss Stephanie going to Miss Rachel's house to give her the latest. It was Miss Maudie having her house burned down and then build it up again. It was the town taking that extra 2 hours to discuss this. So I think that's why that was so important. And then I'm going to read one last thing. It's, we have about 10 minutes, and I'll be able to talk about the next book. So I'm going to read one last thing, and then we're going to end. So this is now when Atticus is bringing Scout back to her bed, and it's the end of, and like she's like, no, I was awake. I listened to everything. He unhooked my overalls, leaned me against him, and pulled them off. He held me up with one hand and reached for my pajamas with the other. Yeah, and they all thought it was the Stoner's boy messing up their clubhouse and throwing ink all over it, and he guided me to my bed and sat me down. He lifted my legs and put me under the cover. And they chased him, and they never could catch him because they didn't know what he looked like. And Atticus, when they finally saw him, why, he hadn't done any of those things. Atticus, he was real nice. His hands were under my chin, pulling up the cover, tucking it around me. Most people are, Scout, when you finally see them. He turned out the light and went to Jem's room. He'd be there all night, and he'd be there when Jen waked up in the morning. So, most people are, Scout, when you finally see them. What does that mean, when you finally see them? It means when you finally stood on their porch. That's what I think. Sierra J. Young, my students will always be my children. I'm only a part of their life for a year, but they are mine for life. Boo loved them all, even though they were all scared of him. So, I love that you're a teacher, and I love that you feel that way, because, like, thank you for doing what you do, because the impact that a good teacher has on a child's life, I don't think you know how grateful I am for the teachers I had, and I am grateful that there are teachers like you out there, so thank you. So last thoughts on the book. It's done. Book number 2, down. What do you guys think? Last thoughts. Love this book. All right, Gaia, if you have, about Gaia, you have terrible teachers, then be your best teacher. Because one of my favorite quotes is, a student comes to the master and says, Master, something's wrong. I'm uninspired. I don't know what to do. What do I do? The master says to the student, inspire others. And there you will find your inspiration. So if people are inspiring you, go inspire others. We're not going to read Young Adult Contemporary ASY. Not yet. So don't worry about it. That's maybe for next year. We have a bunch of books coming. I agree. Everyone should read this at least once. I'm going to send one to the president's house. I'm going to send a couple copies. I'm going to write on the inside book, be like, Mr. President, you should read this book. You should probably read more books. You should probably learn to read. Let me know what you think. Alberto Rosende. All right, guys. So that's what I'll end. We have 7 minutes left. So let's talk about the next book, which my cousin Sarah, who's sitting over there, will be joining us for. Let's say hi to Sarah one more time. Hey! So, our next book is 1984 by George Orwell. Now, 1984, I've never read. I've only heard about it. Actually, we should all do something. We should all send copies of To Kill a Mockingbird to the president's house. That'd be funny. That'd be awesome. I'm going to think about that. But we have 5 minutes, and I don't want this to start counting down before we talk about the next book. So maybe tonight, when I'm hanging out with Jade, we might do a live. Maybe tomorrow, I might do it in the morning to talk about, because I haven't looked at the book. I don't know how long it is. I don't know how we're going to break it up. But take the night off. Be happy we finished another book. Great accomplishment. And let's move forward. So we'll start reading tomorrow. I'm assuming we're going to stick to our MO, our modus operandi, our method of operation. We're reading about 100 pages a week. So think that. I think Alice Adventureland, use my powers for good and not mischief. I think sending someone a really good book is definitely a power for good, right? It's not mischievous. Sometimes mischievous is good. So, I will do my best to tweet the timeline. I'm going to look at it when I get home because I don't have that book with me. I'm traveling, so I don't carry too many books. Actually, there's a quote. Mommy, can I have your phone real quick? Yes, I just need to go on your Instagram really quickly. I need to look up a quote. There's one quote that I want to read. Mom, I think you should listen to this one too. It's really interesting.
Okay.
Oh, do you guys want to say hi to my mom? She looks so pretty right now.
Hi, guys.
So, it's a quote from an Instagram that I follow, because they always put really interesting quotes from actors and artists and creative people that make you think. And the quote's by George Carlin, he's now deceased, but he's a really funny comedian, spoke a lot about politics and stuff. Because a lot of people complain about politicians. I did myself until I read this quote. I'm like, that's interesting. Because, now there's one thing you might have noticed I don't complain about. Politicians. Everyone complains about politicians. Everyone says they suck. Well, where do people think these politicians come from? They don't fall out of the sky. They don't pass through a membrane from another reality. They come from American parents, American families, American homes, American schools, American churches, American businesses, American universities, and they're elected by American citizens. This is the best we can do, folks. This is what we have to offer. It's what our system produces. Garbage in, garbage out. If you have selfish, ignorant citizens, you're going to get selfish, ignorant leaders. Then he talks about term limits. They're not going to do any good. You're just going to end up with a brand new bunch of selfish, ignorant Americans. So maybe it's not the politicians who suck. Maybe there's something else around here.
Very nice.
And I think that's a very important thing with the theme of this book, with the themes of why books should never be banned. We have the power to change the world. Don't let anyone tell you any different. And we can complain, which is super easy to do. Complain about politicians, complain about the problems we have, or we can actively make the choice to live a better life and make the world a better place one person at a time. And if we all do it, there's 270 of you guys right on my live right now, 260. That's 400, that's 520 people, just if you were nice to one person, each of us. So, that's something I want us to think about. Thank you for your phone, Mommy. So yes, the next book. Hey, Pops! Pops is on the live. He said, Mommy looks great. Proud of you. Love you, Pop. Wish you could be here. Banning books never does anything because it never does anything good, because I'll tell you something. Humans are creatures of curiosity. It's kind of why I love my cat. Cats are extremely curious, and I'm fascinated by curiosity. I actually had a teacher describe to me that talent isn't anything but an extreme sense of curiosity. Talented people are extremely curious. So that curiosity leads us to find those ideas that people are hiding from us. So it's one of those things. You can never hide ideas from people. We'll always try to find them. So yes. Oh, we have 2 minutes. Guys, we did really well. We talked about the book. We got through the last 10 chapters. And now we have 2 minutes left. So any questions? I am wearing an NYU sweater. I went there. So many fantastic quotes in the book today. I'm not allowed to cut my hair because Simon has this long hair. Sorry, Gloria Nessa. Also, I like my hair really long and crazy, so. Like I said in our lives, I like my hair long. Hey, we didn't get cut off this time. You know, Nick String's Milk and Honey, I reread parts of it, and I don't know if I feel completely comfortable discussing a lot of it. As a man, especially. So I'm going to talk to a couple of my friends that are that have read it or that read it and see if they get more insight. It's something that I have to read a few times to feel if I could have a conversation about it. I hope you understand that, because it's heavy, and I don't want to. I don't know. You know what I mean? Where can I get the book? Salty to Dario. I think I've tweeted a couple links to the books in different languages. I'll look through. Anyone that has the PDF links for 1984, if you could just tweet them to me, and I'll retweet them. As always, guys, look through my past tweets and retweets and stuff. A lot of them are whatever I'm retweeting, but some of them are about the book club, and they're different PDFs and stuff for the books so that we can all really read it online and whatever. Yeah, it's a heavy. I mean, I couldn't imagine reading as a female. I can never imagine that perspective. And I think that's something a lot of people have to start saying out loud, especially men, being like, I will never know what it means to be a woman in this world. The minute we start saying that is the minute we can start standing on a woman's porch. A lot of people need to start saying they know nothing, and that's when you start to know everything. Or at least you can take the first step in learning. Have I ever been disappointed with the book's ending? Absolutely. I forgot which book it was, but I remember once I finished the book, and I got so... Oh! I got so mad at Shadowhunters when I finished book 6. I literally threw the book. I was like, this is bull! And I threw it, and I was like, how could you do this to Simon? I don't want to give you guys spoilers because people haven't read it. But yeah, at the end of book 6, I was very upset, and I remember throwing the book. I literally threw it across the room. Rita, thank you. There are also multiple audiobooks on YouTube for the books we're reading. So if you can't find them to read, I like reading them a lot of the time. You can probably find the audiobooks as well. Okay, oh, there's a question I want to ask you guys because it's an idea I had. What do you guys think about doing like a read-along? Where like one day we say, hey guys, we're going to read chapter 1. And then we'll go on live together and I'll read chapter 1 with you guys so we can read together. Do you guys think a read-along would be cool? Or do you guys think that's kind of like you guys read at your own pace? Ah, see, that's the thing, Nick Strings. I don't know if we want to discuss immediately. I think we just want to read along and be like, all right, that was chapter 1. Thanks for starting this next book with me. Maybe we can do that. We'll still read chapter 1 of every book together, just so we all start the journey at the same time. And then we'll go forward. I'll keep thinking about it. I'll see if it works. Ah, we do read in different languages. That's a thing. Ooh, Shadow Queen, I can't tell you. Just know that I was upset. I don't want to discuss. I just want to read because I want to save our discussions for when everyone's present, for when everyone has read them, or because everyone reads at their own pace. Maybe they can't be there. So I think it'd be unfair to discuss. You know what I mean? So maybe not. We'll talk about it. We'll think about it a little bit more. But for the most part, we're starting to read tomorrow. Thank you, Deflect Runes. Yes, Salsik, I can't wait to be in Milan and Paris. I'm so excited they invited me. So excited. I've been to Paris once, a long time ago, so we'll see. All right, guys, there's 2 minutes left, so we know that I normally get cut off. So this time, I'm going to say goodbye. So goodbye. Tonight or tomorrow, I'll tweet out a timeline for the next book. I will talk to Jade and see maybe we'll do a live when he comes over. It might be kind of late, so we might not. I'll talk to people, see if a read-along's a good idea, and we'll talk about that on Monday. Keep reading, keep exploring, keep learning, keep growing, keep being the amazing people you are. I can't wait to keep reading with you guys. Thank you. We finished our second book, and I can't wait to read the third one.